Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. JJ and I are back to conclude our Daredevil watch series because we have finished Daredevil Born Again for our first watch through. And yeah, it's crazy to have kind of watched this entire series now, and in some ways I would say Born Again lived up to the hype, and other ways I think it was a step back. So but yeah, JJ, what are your thoughts on Born Again?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. There are a lot of things I really liked. There are several things that I did not like actively disliked.
Mm-hmm.
It also felt like an unfinished season. I understand that it's a new show, but because it is a direct continuation of the Daredevil Netflix series, and it feels like it's intended to be part of that, like not just as like part of that from a plot standpoint, but as a show overall, it's weird for them to end this season the way they did, because it's very unlike any of the seasons of Daredevil.
Yeah. So I believe the story here is that they originally intended for the full season to be 18 episodes. And then they were like, okay, let's just split it into 2 seasons. So one half, 9 episodes, the other half, 9 episodes. And I think the other thing was that they also, they basically had to do like reshoots and stuff, because originally they had the show one way. And then I think it was like test screenings or something. And like Kevin Feige and whatnot, they were like, okay, this isn't going to work, so we're going to have to reshoot it and retool it so that the fans won't be upset. So, and you can kind of tell that because like there's things that are absolutely rushed and feel reworked. I think Foggy and Karen being involved a little bit were like one of the things that were added in reshoots, because they originally weren't part of it at all.
That explains the first episode.
Yeah.
I would kind of rather, I don't know. I know I was telling you about this before, but like having Foggy there and then killing him in the first episode felt rushed. I don't mind that they killed his character. Like that feels like a good plot point that is a good impetus for this entire series. But killing him in the first episode feels almost disrespectful to the long-term fans who are coming in with him as one of their most beloved characters.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to feel about it when I had heard about it. I was spoiled on Foggy dying. That was like the big thing I was spoiled on. So I knew that was happening. I wasn't sure how to feel about it when it happened, and like it is Bullseye who does it, and then like you're gonna find out later like why it happened. I don't know. It's odd, because it's like all of a sudden Dex has, it is like, I mean, he's manipulated by the Fisks. I mean, Vanessa literally manipulates him into doing something else for her to cover something up. And I don't know, like, I don't know. Because like part of me was like, okay, is Dex now all of a sudden having a personal vendetta taken out on Foggy? But no, it's, more manipulation. So, Yeah, it sucks too because I would have liked to see more Foggy. There's rumors that like because I think in the comics I'd seen something where like Foggy faked his own death in the comics, so I don't know how they would make that work in this. So at this point, based on what happened, I think it's probably better to just have him be dead at this point.
I could see him faking his own death and hiding it from Matt, but
Mhm.
not hiding it from Karen.
No, that's the part that's like Karen's not gonna, he's not gonna hide it from her. Yeah.
I also think that it, like, the whole point of the third season of Daredevil was Matt fighting with his darker side, and like he did that the whole entire freaking show. But in the third season, he got as close to killing as he had ever gotten, and then he still stopped himself. And it was like, it felt like, cool, we're done with that fight. He's not going to do it. But then, literally in the first episode, he throws someone off a building with the intention to kill them.
Yeah.
I understand that Foggy was just killed, and that this is like the most impactful death that Matt has had. But still, it's the first episode, and we're already undoing like all of the work of the previous series.
Yeah, that was rough for me too. It's like I was shocked that he threw Dex off the building. That part I did not know happened. And so I'm like, okay, so Dex is just gonna fall off the building. Obviously, any normal person is gonna die from that. But you can read between the lines. We remember from the end of season 3 where Dex got like the surgery on his spine from having it broken by Fisk, and that's how he survives. It's not explicitly stated though that that's how he survives. It's just like all of a sudden, okay, he falls off the building. Oh, he survives, and he's on trial. Like less than a year later, and he's like perfectly fine. And it's just like, it's just very odd because they don't explicitly state that that's how he is fine right now.
Yep. But that's one of those comic book things that maybe it was you I was talking to this about. It's just like sometimes we don't need to know every single thing about a character. Right. Sometimes it's enough to be like, hey, these are the important things that you must know right now. And then we're still focused on this other person that you've been following the whole time. We're just going to bring in this character for a moment. And sometimes that's okay. I would have liked that to be like even like quick a sideline at some point would have been nice. But can we talk about that fight between Daredevil and Dex, or Daredevil and Bullseye though?
Yeah, at the beginning, yeah, absolutely.
The image of Matt with all the knives sticking out of his armor was really cool.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. That would be like a good poster for the show, I think. But already we're bringing in CGI.
Yeah, I did notice that a lot.
However, most of the choreography for the fight was pretty good and felt pretty authentic. Like, if there was no CGI, I would like the fighting a lot and have no problems with it. And the CGI is pretty sparse.
Yeah, it's not like it's used a ton, but when it is used, it is very noticeable. I will notice it a lot. I mean, we'll talk about Punisher in a bit, but even you get to like the finale and you have literally, you can tell it's CGI blood squirting out, and like it's just kind of how did we get here from the original series where a lot more was practical? Like stuff that they use CGI for was way more practical.
Like, I shouldn't be wondering if this actor is being played by a stunt double right now when he's just sitting there because of CGI on his face. That's just silly. And there's nothing in this show that needs that to make it work. Like, for the most part, for Daredevil, it was all put in on his swinging with his baton, which also gave me Spider-Man vibes. But,
yes.
But that could be done just by a stunt double. Like, people use ropes and lines all the time in filming, even in live theater. That's something you can do.
Yeah, well, and I even feel like I know like the Spider-Man movies definitely use CGI for some of the swinging stuff, but I feel like also there are parts with some of Spider-Man swinging in the MCU that it still looked practical enough, like where you can believe it. And here, like whenever, the swinging with the baton, not only is it looking like Spider-Man, but it definitely does not look practical.
Right. It's just an instant taking out of the immersion because it looks so different and it just looks fake.
Yeah, I feel like they were taking some wrong lessons from, when they had Daredevil and She-Hulk. And so it's unfortunate. I feel like the first half of the show for me was the weakest part. Now, were there good moments? Yes, but I feel like, when we get to episode 6 through 9, I think that for the most part, that's pretty good, a pretty good second half of the season.
I actually really appreciated the first half of the season. I appreciated it being a gritty legal drama, and that was all that it was for a while. I really liked the show for what it was during that section. Now, it did also get really good towards the end, but it's always been this balance between, from a show writing perspective, between a legal drama and a superhero television show.
Right.
And so it's nice to see them able to continue to find how they can do both.
Agreed. I will say the best part of the first half of season 1 is the Hector Ayala trial, the White Tiger trial. That is a really good episode. I knew also that the actor passed away. Unfortunately, I think he had the same type of cancer that Chadwick Boseman had and passed away, I think, last year. So, which is just very unfortunate. I don't know if it was planned to kill him off by the end, but I feel like it was still, because they had it play into the themes of like what Fisk is going for as mayor, of like outlawing vigilantes. But I'm also wondering, okay, did they have an original plan of wanting to use White Tiger more in the MCU?
I don't know. I did really like about this show in particular, though, I know I touched on it earlier, but like all these side characters that they brought in, that just were there. This really does feel like a good way to introduce Daredevil into the MCU proper. I know he was in in She-Hulk, but I wouldn't really count that as being introduced so much as this show. But we get the guy from Hawkeye. And
swordsman, Jack.
And he's just there, and it's not done in an in-your-face way where you need to have watched Hawkeye. That's the best part, is that like it's an Easter egg, not a requirement. Like if you look at something like The Boys, there are essential plot points in the like recent seasons of The Boys that you have to watch Project V to understand. But here, it's like you can only watch this show and still be okay. But if you watch the other stuff, it adds to your enjoyment.
Yeah, I loved seeing Jack again. He was one of my favorite parts of Hawkeye. Also, we got Miss Marvel's dad in the bank. So that was pretty cool. Like the whole bank episode, I know Charlie Cox has also come out and said that was his least favorite episode. It did feel weird because it was more of like what you would consider filler. There was some cool parts to that episode, though. I think everything with Kamala's dad was kind of fun, but like compared to the rest of the season, it definitely felt like episode 5 was more of that filler episode of the season.
Yeah, if you took that episode out, I don't feel like anything would be lost.
No, I don't think so either. Like I'm trying to think if they were leading into anything from that. I mean, I know, like, I think we had the Irish guys were in like a clip or something earlier in the season, or a little scene, but setting that up. But I don't know. It just definitely felt so, outside of the box from the rest of the season. So
it was, Charlie Cox did a really good Irish accent too.
Oh yeah, he did. Well, and he's British, I believe.
He is British. Yeah. Actually, before he was, I think it was before he was Daredevil. I don't know when Downton Abbey released, but I of course watched Daredevil first, and then I watched Downton Abbey with my mom, and he's in that, and it's like,
Oh,
whoa, totally different role.
that's wild to me.
Granted, he's only in an episode. I think he's like a duke or something like that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No. It's absolutely wild. We have all these Brits in the MCU, you know, you have Tom Hiddleston, Tom Holland, Charlie Cox.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, like other characters that got pulled in too, like White Tiger. And White Tiger is a great example of that, fleshing this out like a comic book world. Like, this is my favorite thing about Marvel Avengers Assemble. It was a TV show that followed the Avengers. It was specifically about the Avengers. And then in true comic book form, like, basically anybody can show up at any time. But whenever a character is relevant to an episode, they were brought in, and it was made, you were made to understand the bare minimum that you needed to know how this character is going to affect this episode. And then they're gone. And that's all you need to know. Something like White Tiger is that. It's like, okay, he's a vigilante. Do we really understand his powers? No. Do I know what they're talking about with his pendant? Not really, but I don't need to know that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, I like that as well. And I feel like we got enough of his character where, like, I'm okay. Like, again, they served the plot with him getting killed at the end of episode 3, and like we didn't need to get any more, because I feel like we got a story from him in 2 episodes that was really good. So
yeah. And it was nice seeing the Punisher back for as much of this as he was.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing Frank back again, and John Bernthal. I mean, he does such a good job. I mean, we get to episode 4 and Matt goes like seeking him because of like the bullet casing and whatnot. We know all season since like episode 3 that someone in a Punisher vest killed Hector Ayala. So like, you know, we're like, okay, it can't be Frank, because Frank wouldn't do this kind of thing.
Right.
You know, we don't think he wouldn't kill White Tiger. So, you know, having Matt seek out Frank, and then later on in the season leading to them teaming up again is just, in the finale, is just really good. I loved that.
I do really appreciate the ideology at play there. It's like, I don't want to be like real life political about it, but there, like, you do see that happening in real life too, where people take the idea of the Punisher and morph it into their own ideas, and then still use his symbology so to see Frank interact with that, with people co-opting his image to do their own thing, that feels very authentically how he would react.
Yeah, I thought that that's a huge part of like his story in this season as well. Like I really enjoyed that part of it, where like, yeah, the cops are using his symbol and thinking that that's what he represents, and not actually knowing what the Punisher is about. Like, I think that's relatable to what is going on in real life, unfortunately. And so I thought that worked for me.
Yeah, I really appreciated that storyline. And then, you know, the badass moment at the end, too, where he pulls the guy's arm through the bar and breaks it. I assume what's about to happen is he's going to use his bones as like a lockpick or something, but...
Yeah, well, so they did announce that they are doing a special presentation like they did with the Guardians Holiday Special and Werewolf by Night, where Punisher is getting his own special.
Okay. I would rather have a whole season, but fair enough.
Yeah, I would too, but it's better than nothing. So that'll be like an hour special. I don't know when that's supposed to release. I'm assuming next year, but
okay. I would like to
know.
See that before the second half of Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah, I would assume they'd have him back in season 2 or second half of Born Again as well, but I don't know. So well, we haven't talked about Wilson Fisk and Vanessa here as much, but Kingpin is as good as ever. I mean, I loved where they took him in this season of like being the mayor and like trying to like pretend that he's turned over a new leaf, but he hasn't actually. And obviously that's going to culminate in the finale with what he does to the police commissioner, which is one of the like most gruesome kills that Kingpin's ever done, where he just rips someone's head off.
I almost did believe that he was becoming a changed man. Almost. Of course, I know Kingpin, but there have been points. I think much like in the first season of Daredevil, he does genuinely care about the city. He also has his own motives that are self-serving, and there is some overlap. I don't agree with his methods, but there, in his own way, I do believe he is trying to take care of the city. But he is certainly doing a lot of less than legal things to get there.
Well, yeah, and I feel like Kingpin is a villain that is much like, Thanos, or like someone that believes what they're doing is right, has like these strong beliefs, but is absolutely going about it the wrong way.
Yeah. I would rather not have had the marital problems between him and Vanessa at all than to have them get resolved as quickly and unconsequentially as they did.
Yeah, that was a bit odd to like be going through that for like half the season, and all of a sudden they're fine. Like, I mean, he left for the stuff in Hawkeye and Echo, and then she's taking care of the business, and that's what causes the strain in their marriage. I definitely found that to be odd, and like how she even leads the one guy on to like believe that they're together now, and then obviously that leads to her and Wilson just being like, beating that guy up and then killing him at the end of the day. Like,
yeah,
it's very odd.
Why make the audience think that she was turning on Wilson and actually going through with an attempt to have him killed? I would have loved that storyline. Like, she's developed into her own crime boss self.
Yeah.
And she's very competent and could run everything without Fisk at all. And like the point where she kills Adam, I understand why she does it. She has to do it to protect herself, not even protect Wilson. But like that could have been the catalyst for her to turn against Fisk entirely. Like, that was the whole problem for Fisk. And then I don't know. It's like, I get them having a makeup, but how can you being forced to kill Adam just go get swept under the rug? It didn't feel like a natural progression.
I believe Ayla Zur, I believe she was added in reshoots, because I don't believe she was in the original show, and so everything with her, I guess, got added in reshoots. To my knowledge, I believe that's how it went.
It would have been a real interesting storyline, though, to then have like Fisk still being mayor and doing his things, but also now competing against Vanessa and her crime ring.
Yeah, I would have really enjoyed a deeper dive into that. I know, like, there was also like, because I was thinking, okay, is like him being away, was that because it was because of the Hawkeye and Echo stuff, but was it because of that, or like, the thought is, okay, did he get like blipped by Thanos and everything? Because that, I think there was like something that came out of like during Hawkeye or something that they asked Vincent D'Onofrio of like, well, what has Kingpin been up to? And I think he said something of like, obviously everything being a continuation of, the original Daredevil series, and that like something to do with Thanos' snap and the blip and whatnot. So I don't know if that's something that an angle they were going with, but then decided, no, we'll just go with, okay, he was doing the, everything else and with Echo and Hawkeye, and that's why, he wasn't around to help his business and everything.
To that point, I'm sure it's probably not the first show, but it's the first show I've seen since Endgame where I don't recall any references to the blip.
Yeah, I believe you're probably correct. I can't think of a show where that wasn't mentioned. I mean, I'm assuming She-Hulk did at some point. I'm
Or
trying to remember.
maybe it didn't. I don't know. It just, yeah. Like, this feels like about as on the outskirts of the MCU as it possibly can be.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind it staying there. I don't need him to become mainstream and be a part of all of the stuff that's going on. Obviously, we're set in the world. Obviously, the events of this affect Daredevil. Like, even in the first show, talking about the New York fight that the Avengers had in the first Avengers movie. But, like, it's also, down to earth and right there.
Yeah. I'm also curious because it's funny that Matt just seems to get around also because with women because he's been with Karen, he was with Jennifer Walters and She-Hulk, and then all of a sudden he's with this new woman, the therapist, and
not Claire, no. Oh, what is her name? I don't remember. Never mind.
The one from this show, and I guess I mean Rosario Dawson,
Claire the nurse too, yeah,
and
Elektra.
Yeah, so Matt really gets around.
Yep.
But it's funny they don't even mention Jennifer Walters in this show. Like, we were led to believe, okay, maybe their relationship and She-Hulk. And then it's just funny that doesn't even get a mention, and now he's just moved on, no talk about Jen, and which is fine. Like, I'm okay with that. I kind of like I guess I want to like this relationship a little bit. Obviously, this relationship is going to lead to what happens with Muse and like what 6 and 7, which I actually really liked the Muse storyline. I liked like a character that was like a short 2-episode villain and kind of adds to Kingpin's plot to like get rid of vigilantes. And so I really liked the Muse stuff. I thought that was interesting and horrifying at the same time.
I thought his costume was really, really cool.
Yeah.
The canvas, I assume it was made of canvas, or at least it intended to be made of canvas. But the canvas mask with blood around the eye sockets, very intimidating.
Yeah. I really liked that as well, and like the fact of like he's just taking people's blood out and using it to like put it on his eyes and make his paintings and whatnot. Like that's horrifying. And I mean, I figured as soon as she's doing her book and the one guy steps up, like, and they focused on him, then I'm like, okay, this guy is going to be important later. So
I also really liked Fisk's line of when sanitation is figuring out there's a serial killer before the police are. Maybe it's time to do things differently.
Yeah. That was fun. Anything else we haven't touched on?
Yeah, well, like I wanted to talk about some of the other things that I just didn't like.
Yeah, go for it.
Some of the cinematography, I saw it more in the first episode than anywhere else, but it felt very artsy. I don't know. Obviously Daredevil like actually properly has superpowers.
Yeah,
and that's an easy thing to forget because mostly he's just a martial artist,
right?
In the way that he fights, but like he has enhanced senses. But mostly, like this is a show about a guy who is navigating everyday life and is also a vigilante in the way that Spider-Man is like supposed to be relatable in some ways. So like making things more artsy wasn't my favorite, but more specifically, slow-mo shots in fighting bugged the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Especially when the Punisher was in Matt's apartment, and every time it cut to him, it was slow shots every single time. And then when it cut back to Daredevil, it was like normal speed fighting. This is not what it's been like necessarily. This, I just didn't. I don't know. I don't have more words on it.
Yeah, I get that completely because it's very odd to go and take the great fight scenes you had in the original series for 3 seasons and then change them to be, as you said, more artsy. And I don't know, like, and even within the MCU, it hasn't been like that. Like, we don't often get these slow motion shots, if at all. So, like, at least, in the Infinity Saga, we definitely didn't get these giant like slow-mo shots. So it is very, very odd.
On another note, Foggy's beard.
Oh yeah,
Had that forever. It looked very good on him.
yes, agreed. I did want to mention Bullseye, the scene after Matt like slams his face on the table, which leads to his moment with his tooth and like using that as a projectile. So good. Like I thought that was really good. It's weird, but it's good.
I do like Bullseye being. I wouldn't call him an anti-hero because he's not, but
no.
He sort of is on the outskirts of the gray area. Like he's almost in the territory that he could work with Daredevil, but not quite. Like it's a really complicated relationship that he and Matt have, and I think that's really interesting from a story perspective. Why do you think that Matt stepped in front of the bullet?
Ooh, yeah, that's a big moment. I don't know if it was to like prove something to like, okay, even a vigilante can protect the mayor. I don't know, the kind of maybe he was thinking he can stop Kingpin's like argument that, you know, vigilantes only do things that are bad and like to hinder progress, and you know that he actually saved Wilson's life in this moment. I don't know, that I guess that's part of it, like he was willing to do that, but also like the whole time he's also wanting to discredit Fisk so he can like stop his reign of terror as mayor. So I don't know, it's a very interesting question.
It doesn't really track with his ethos in my opinion, because like end of season 3, for example, the whole point was the legal system has just straight up failed on this one.
That's true.
It's time to take matters into my own hand. And then the conversation that he and Fisk have in the diner where they're both like, okay, if you start doing this stuff again, I'm going to end you, basically.
Right.
And then it's like, clearly we're past the tipping point. So I'm not sure why he wouldn't just let him be killed, because that's a resolution, and he's not the one doing it. Maybe he feels the need to take care of it himself because of Foggy. Well, he knows that Vanessa ordered it. So I don't know. I hope we get some explanation for that.
Yeah, I do too. That was one thing like they didn't resolve, but I think they probably will in season 2. I would hope, but also I've been hoping certain things will get resolved in the MCU for the last few years and they haven't. So
Matt also doesn't seem to entirely know himself.
No.
So.
No, I think he's very much trying to figure that out. And I think the whole show being like he's trying to find his purpose and sense of himself again, because he has lost a part of himself with Foggy. Like he's been a huge part of his life. And and I would say the humanity that Matt has, you know, a lot of it can be attributed to Foggy and Karen. And so just to lose that part of himself. I mean, you even see him when the cops come in, when he goes to, you know, help out the witness getaway for Hector Ayala, and the cops come in and like you have the moment where he like beats them up and like slams their head into the table and whatnot. Like he lost some of his humanity there. So
yeah, I mean, he didn't want to fight. I mean, the way that he stated is like, you don't want to do this, but he clearly didn't want that to be the outcome either.
Right. For sure.
Okay, who do you think is going to be in the next season? I'm fairly certain that Jessica Jones will be there. She's credited on IMDb.
Yeah, they just confirmed Kristen Ritter is returning as Jessica Jones. I did want to mention that, so glad you brought that up. Yeah, she just got in a MCU Direct. I just saw it on Twitter. Yeah, she got confirmed. So
okay. Of course, if she's going to be in, that opens the door also for Luke Cage and for Iron Fist.
Yeah, I wonder. I would say I would hope Mike Coulter comes back as Luke Cage. I don't know about Finn Jones. I also, again, I didn't care about Finn Jones in Defenders, so.
Well, Iron Fist wouldn't necessarily stay in New York either. Like, his fight could realistically take him all over the place, but Luke Cage doesn't have any reason to leave. So
Right.
like he's still in New York. I'm assuming he's still in Harlem. So like he's still there.
Yeah.
I wonder if Daredevil's mom is going to come back. I'm kind of surprised she wasn't in this first season.
Yeah. I could see him I could see him going to talk to her at some point in the church, because I feel like we got some moments of his faith in here, but I really feel like he needs to go back to that again in season 2. Like I want to see him kind of go talk to his mom and have like a confession. Like I feel like we need that.
You know, that could be a really good way for them to resolve why he took the bullet for Fisk.
Yes.
He seeks advice from her, and she helps him talk through it.
Exactly. I mean, I think we just figured out the writing for season 2. But
I think Jessica Jones is going to show up.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't know too much because I didn't watch her show. Like, I've only seen her in Defenders at this point and heard, like, everybody talks about how good Kristen Ritter is as her, which I agree. From what I've seen of her, she's good. But, like, I don't know how she's going to show up. They could do it naturally of, like, you know, maybe, you know, he just goes out for coffee or something with her. Or they're going to do this big thing where, like, they're in a fight and all of a sudden you see Jessica Jones is, like, all of a sudden there, like, her fist comes in and, like, I don't know. Like, they could just... I wouldn't put it past Marvel. They've done that for a lot of things where they have these big grand entrances and sometimes they work and they're great, and then other times they're kind of forced.
Sometimes they work. Sometimes they don't. But
like,
the subtle entrances are good, too. Like when Matt goes home and Frank is just there.
Right, exactly. Like I feel like I'm trying to think of like the grand entrances that did work, like the Guardians in Infinity War. Like that worked for me. That was perfect.
On a movie scale, it works a lot better than in a TV show.
Right, exactly. But yeah, and then I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Iron Man showing up to help Spider-Man for sure. That always is nice.
Yeah, that's another one. I was gonna bring up, I mean, Daredevil's forming an army, so like Jessica Jones absolutely there. I mean, I'd love to see Spider-Man again. I don't think that can happen with Sony and the rights, and like that's just unfortunate. I believe they confirmed that they can't throw Spider-Man into the shows. Like I believe it's only for movies, so I believe like they cannot use Spider-Man, and that sucks. And he should be there. I also really would love to get the take on like Fisk has outlawed vigilantes and like how that's going to affect like Spider-Man and everything. Problem is with the MCU at this point is that the movies, I think Kevin Feige just literally had them basically, like, I think for Thunderbolts, he literally was telling like the writers to, you know, have Thunderbolts stand on its own, which makes me think they're not really going to be referencing the shows and the movies all that much. And that makes me worried for the new Spider-Man 4 in the MCU is like, they're not going to have Daredevil. They're not. I mean, they did have him in No Way Home, so I'll give them credit there. I just don't know if they're really going to reference the events of like Born Again in like the new Spider-Man, for example.
Yeah, and they could do it in a way to where things like exist together but don't reference each other and still don't have any plot inconsistencies, but that does seem difficult.
Yeah. It's just an issue, and like to me it's like I mean, obviously they had like the shows, like the Netflix shows, and you know, say what you will about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like they had stuff going on during the Infinity Saga, but you know, you didn't need to watch the shows to understand what was going on in the Infinity Saga. And now that's completely turned on its head, and you have, you know, stuff from the shows that was connecting to some of the movies, but not in a way where it was like it never felt natural. Like it didn't feel like a natural progression. Like WandaVision to Doctor Strange 2 didn't feel like a natural progression. Like I will agree with that. So it's tough for me. Like I would love to have like how the MCU used to be, but I think at this point we're way past that because of the damage that has been done by Disney Plus. So
they've they're already past several points of no return with the way that they've handled the post Endgame world.
Yeah, and it's sad. Like I love the MCU. I still like it. Like I'm still gonna watch most of the stuff, but I just realized that things are not how they used to be. Like I feel like, you know, only half of the movies have been good. Only, you know, a handful of the shows have been good at this point. So like, it's just unfortunate the way things have gone.
Backtracking just a little
Yeah.
bit. I put the odds at like 50-50 that Jessica and Matt sleep together.
It's probably gonna happen.
Also, if Matt is building an army, there are other people that he probably would call. That would be a great way for Luke Cage to come back.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he called on She-Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, if the shows are more so going to connect to the shows as we've seen, like with Miss Marvel's dad, like I can see She-Hulk being like a likely one to be in this army. The issue is going to be, again, the CGI budget, how that is going to affect things, and I just can't see them like. I think they're going to try to do as little as possible. Like they're going to do what they did in She-Hulk with trying to limit her transformations, because when they did use it, it didn't look great.
They could also, you know, like, I don't know what they plan to do, but if they are going to have a big fight, then, you know, there could just be have She-Hulk show up for that. And if you want to go that far, like Miss Marvel could also pop in for a second.
Sure.
We've already laid the groundwork to connect the two.
Mhm.
So that's a possibility.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I feel like those two could happen. Again, I'd love to see Moon Knight back just to have Oscar Isaac in there. But again, I honestly feel like we might never see Moon Knight again, similar to how we'll never see the Eternals again.
I don't see a reasonable plot pathway for Moon Knight to appear right now in Daredevil. I mean, it sure could happen. Anybody who is a smaller scale hero, anyone who's a vigilante, granted, you know, I was thinking about that. I know this is an aside, but I was wondering if there's any separation between someone like Daredevil and someone like Iron Man when they're considering vigilante. And then you've got the Sokovia Accords and how those affect things. And it's like, there are some lines that need to be drawn, but what would be the metrics by which you would classify someone one way versus another way? But anyone who is a vigilante, like Moon Knight, could make an appearance. There's, you know, with the
whatever Kingpin's doing, I don't know what he.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that train of thought.
Yeah, we'll let it be there. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens, but I don't know. We'll see how things go. I believe so. The next MCU thing, they just released the teaser for Ironheart, so that is coming in June. But it is directed by Ryan Coogler, who did the Black Panther movies. So at least you have Ryan Coogler there. So I don't feel like it'll be terrible because you have Ryan Coogler directing it and whatnot. But I also am not really excited about it. And it's literally, I think it's only coming out over like 2 weeks because they're doing like 3 episodes in each week for 2 weeks. And it's like, they know that they're probably not going to get many people to tune in for like a 6-week, 6-episode series, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep. That is one of the ones that I probably won't watch. I mean, I know there are a lot of ones that I don't really watch anymore.
Right.
But
right. I don't know, but so that's coming out, and then Fantastic Four in July, which I think will actually be good. Like I'm excited for Fantastic Four. So
that might be one that gets me back into the theaters, honestly.
Yeah, I think everything about it, the aesthetic, everything looks really good. I mean, Galactus in the trailers even looks good with the CGI and everything. So like at least it's not a cloud this time. So I'm optimistic for that. Thunderbolts was really good in my opinion. So like, I think that one is worth checking out. I think it actually feels like the MCU is getting, at least with the movies, is getting back on track to kind of leading somewhere. So
I don't think I'll watch it in theaters, but that is one.
Right.
Excuse me. That is one that I do plan to watch. So
Mhm.
once it makes its way onto
Disney
home
Plus.
television,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed like Brave New World a little bit. I thought there were good pieces to it, but I also on a rewatch it does not hold up as well. So that's when I was like, I was a little higher on when I first saw it, and then I'm like, no, this is not great.
Yeah.
So which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think we nailed everything. So I believe, yeah, we'll be back at least for probably around Fantastic Four or whenever we decide to do the next Marvel project. Or you may see JJ again in Pokemon at some point. So
Yep. I would certainly like that.
yeah, so I believe that's the plan. But yeah, tune in for all of our other content. Subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And we will see you next time on the Tribe of Nerds.